Reet won the solo cash cup in dominating fashion, picking up 3 wins and coming out on top ahead of players like Peterbot. Let's break down each of these wins and see how he uses his Oni masks in unique ways, takes fights, and much more. Starting with his first win, Reet lands at Canyon Crossings. He picks up a quick spray kill as his opponent lands and continues to loot up the POI. Reet continues to look for opportunities and tries to take a fight in the underground tunnels by Canyon Crossings. Once he realizes that his enemy isn't going to make a quick mistake and is willing to drag out this fight, he quickly disengages to play out the rest of his game. From here, his next priority is to farm metal. He does this by rotating into these south mountains, which have a large underground cave network where he can then farm tons of metal. He then carries a fishing rod and plays off the water to cap out his shield and recover his white health from some of the time he spent in the zone. Simply from the way the zone's played, Reet finds himself on the dead side of the 4th zone, which allows him to then have a ton of space to play from. When the 5th zone plays far, Reet can quickly Oni mask into the edge of the zone. Then when the 6th zone plays far again, he can quickly Oni mask and then quickly pause in wood before Oni masking again into the zone. For a 7th zone rotation, Reet takes a more unconventional path by wrapping around the middle of the zone instead of going directly in. This is because the zone pulled into this path, meaning there are tons of players there. By instead wrapping around through the center of the zone, Reet creates himself an easy rotation that keeps him out of the congestion. The 8th zone then plays fairly close to him, so he waits and Oni masks deep into the zone. He ends up messing this up and lands in the zone, but he makes the best out of this opportunity by jumping in on a player's back who is not expecting to be pressured from the zone side. This gives him an easy 50-50 refresh that sets him up for the rest of the game. As he prepares to make his 9th zone rotate, he doesn't like his current positioning, so he in turn uses some wood to get himself to a safer spot to Oni from. When he Onis, he shoots it at a high angle and then he teleports early. As he is falling, he then looks to reach cones to connect himself on a high layer. He continues to repeat this throughout the 9th zone. As he lands in the 9th zone, he quickly gets pressured and is forced to leave his box. He does a good job of quickly getting out of this dangerous position, and as the 10th zone starts to rotate, he realizes that the height is completely free. He goes up to take it and holds it for a second, but the second he gets pressured for the high ground, he immediately gives it up. Reet continues to play the mid ground and is looking for refreshes. He spots his opportunity on a player in a wood box. He uses his pump shotgun to shoot the wall once, and then he pauses and pretends to do other things. This makes his enemy think he's safe, which is what Reet wants, as now he can quickly jump in the box on the weakened wall and finish off an easy refresh. From here, he continues to play in the mid ground until he needs another refresh. To find this refresh, he hugs the back edge of the zone and is looking for players below him to run out of the zone. These players are often unaware and weak, and he finds one of these easy targets for a quick refresh. From here, Reet wants to find his win condition. To do this, he simply sprays out the height and is able to get a fairly easy height take late in the game, as he simply has more resources than height. Once on the high ground, he is quickly challenged and is forced into an aim 50-50, which he wins by crouching and swinging to the left of his opponent. This makes himself a really hard target to hit from his enemy's POV and allows him to clean up this fight. From here, he is in the final 1v1 and does a genius play to get a free kill. Reet throws an Oni mask deep into the zone to make it look like he is going to play the heal off, but he doesn't have any heal off. Instead, what he does is he drops onto his opponent's head and cleans up the game. This works because by throwing the Oni mask, Reet distracts his enemy and lulls him into a false sense of security that Reet can pounce on. Moving on to a second win, he starts off again by landing at Canyon Crossings, and he immediately prioritizes farming up his materials. This time, Reet is put on the back foot as he is hit hard and then instantly gets pushed. He instantly responds by making a lot of space and then goes for counter side jump shots onto his enemy. This turns the pacing of the fight around, where Reet can then start to pressure his enemy from safe diagonals. As this fight drags out, he doesn't want to continue to commit to it as his materials are running low, so he quickly disengages the fight to keep himself safe. He continues to play out his game and farms metal in the mountain tunnels, where he then finds a large damage spray onto his enemy. He closes the gap with his kinetic blade and hits one of the coolest but my guess unintentional box exploits. He gets a little lucky that this player isn't the greatest, as his opponent tries to make the correct play of trapping Reet in his piece control, but he unfortunately doesn't place the counter piece control on himself and makes a really bad wide edit. This gives Reet the opportunity to get a large shot off and get the ramp over his enemy's head, where he could then quickly clean up the kill. From here, he plays for fish on the edge of the 3rd zone and then bases on the 4th zone and fishes again on the 5th zone. He pulls the 6th zone and does the Oni wrap strat again on the 7th zone. He then Onis again into the 8th zone, where as he lands, he picks up a quick and easy kill onto a player getting sprayed right next to him. Once he finds this kill, another player immediately rushes in and tries to steal the loot. Reet calmly deals with this by applying a little pressure back and then claiming the exit control to the left side and cleaning up the kill. Unfortunately, from all of this chaos, he has become the target of the lobby. He responds to this by using a ton of materials and tries to move around a lot to cut the rest of the lobby's line of sight onto him. This works, and he is able to play out the rest of his endgame safely. Throughout the first moving zone, he simply Oni masks, boxes, and repeats. He is being incredibly passive at this point in time because he knows that he is in no rush for a refresh and doesn't need to take any risks. This was something I was consistently impressed by Reet while watching his games. He was very capable of fighting when he needed to, but he never forced a play if it didn't make sense. He continues this pattern throughout the 10th zone, making sure to box where he only places the cones but not the floors. This saves him materials while he still maintains center piece control if someone was to start closely pressuring him. As the 11th zone pulls, he looks to take the high ground and gets it off a simple chop and crank take. From here, it looks like Reet almost doesn't want to play the high ground as he hugs the back edge of the zone and is incredibly conservative with his mats. Watching it out, I'm fairly confident that if he was pressured, he would have dropped, but as the game continued to play out, he simply tarped on the high ground until the final 1v1 where the other player had started to heal off really early, giving Reet a free second win. Moving on to his third win, Reet is in a W key game, and so we can get to see a few more of his fights in detail. He once again lands a Canyon Crossing and immediately gets his shotgun, minis, and an SMG. He wastes no time pushing the other player in his drop spot as he doesn't want to give him the opportunity to find any extra loot. This gives him an immediate quick kill. He then quickly pads over to the other side of Canyon and pushes the other player. He takes a diagonal trade that he wins, and from here he applies constant pressure to his enemy with his pickaxe until his opponent runs low on builds and is forced to make a desperate play. Reet takes another quick fight where his enemy runs right onto his builds, giving him a free shot and an HP advantage. From here, Reet then forces a 50-50 and cleans up the fight. He then takes another pad deep into the second zone where he takes another fight where 3 of Reet's fighting principles come into play. The first is that he's always trying to stretch high walls in all of his fights. This allows him to block off many of his opponent's paths and gives him an extended piece control. Next, he always assumes his enemy is going to try and move when he pressures them. To counter this, he is always going for pre-piece on the enemy's sides and tops. Finally, Reet is always trying to push his enemy from the diagonal angle. This allows him to apply lots of safe right shoulder pressure while still maintaining distance between himself and his enemies, which he can use to protect himself from any counterattacks. With the combination of these 3 strategies, Reet's enemy panics and leaves open an edit, which gives him a free shot to clean up the kill. From here, he plays in the zone and bases in the 4th zone. He then sees a kid fishing in his box and goes for a sneak kill, hoping to catch his enemy distracted. Thankfully for Reet, this player wasn't just distracted from fishing in game, he was distracted in real life as he was AFK, giving him a free kill. Reet continues to look for fights and finds a few AR tags onto a player. From here, he quickly closes the gap with an Oni mask and looks to grab pre-feast on the enemy's tops in the direction the enemy is looking to expand from. His opponent makes a good play to stagger this expansion and therefore stays out of Reet's pre-feast, but he had to edit and reset his wall to figure this out. This means that in turn, this wall is weak, meaning that Reet can drop onto the wall, shoot it once, and take the cone. From here, he gets a large shot and is able to clean up the kill. Moving on to his rotations, he pulls the 6th zone but chooses to Oni deep into the dead side. When the 7th zone plays through the dead side of the 6th zone, he can easily Oni to deep into the 7th zone, which gives him an easy 8th zone Oni rotate as well. Throughout the 9th zone, he simply plays high layers and Onis along the edge of the zone. This keeps him safe and keeps him in a high material situation. From here, he is able to be the first one to claim height at the end of the 9th zone. These moving zones kept playing through Seaport City, giving the low ground teams very few angles to pressure Reet from. This made his high ground hold trivially easy. He simply used as few mats as he could and then tried to stick to the edges of the zone in order to give himself as many angles as possible onto the teams below him. From here, he holds height until the final 1v1 where he has heal off and the low ground team doesn't. This forces the low ground team to take a bad fight that Reet can easily clean up. The main takeaways you should get from these games are Reet's 3 fighting fundamentals, the fact that his high ground takes are often very simple and just come from him looking, and that it is important to know when to take fights and when to disengage. This was how Reet won 3 games in the Solo Cash Cup, as well as the whole thing. If you enjoyed this video, then you'll also likely enjoy my analysis of how Reet's duo Vert also won the Solo Cash Cup this season. Make sure to like and subscribe. See ya.